Welcome one, welcome all. Sometimes when I just need to unwind for like 10-15 minutes, I just log on to Scribble.io. It's just a basic one person draws, the other people have to guess what the word is type of game. It's kind of fun to unwind to, and it's a pretty simple concept. So you might ask, who invented this? I'm pretty sure history can't really pinpoint to one person, just like other games like tic-tac-toe, chess, and the game. Congrats on losing it, by the way. But for the sake of this episode, the game known as Pictionary can be pinpointed back to Rob Angel. He was your average party kid at Western Washington University College, obsessed with Days of Our Lives, getting drunk, and partying with the girls. He got on academic probation, and after his father got fired, Rob had to figure out a way to pay for school. After taking out a loan from his aunt and uncle, he eventually got a bachelor's degree in business administration on his 23rd birthday. Barely, but it's still a degree. And then after moving back to Spokane, he met up with 3 friends, one of whom, Rob McWilliams, wanted to play a game that he described as charades on paper. After several nights of bad drawings and hilarity, Robert Angel then got the idea of picking random words out of his dilapidated dictionary. Taking too long one time, Sean Curian just gave up and started playing Fictionary, a game where one reads an obscure word and then people have to make up a definition for it. Think Jackbox's Dictionarium, but with real words instead of fake ones. Sean then came up with a genius idea of calling the game Pictionary, and the name stuck. Since this is supposed to be a review about the 3 game shows based off of Pictionary, I'm going to leave the rest of Robert Angel's story as an exercise for you to research. But I'll be using excerpts throughout his autobiography, Game Changer. It came out in the middle of quarantine, and it was a fun read. I'll link an Amazon page below if you want to buy it digitally. However, fast forward to 1989. MCA Universal, here that is Universal Syndication Productions, approaches Rob Angel and Pictionary Inc. They were contacted by Robert Bob Pittman of Quantum Media. If you don't recognize that name, he created MTV and he co-founded iHeartMedia. And yeah, that's the 3rd Robert that's come up in the story. Sorry about that. Rob Angel said yes. According to Rob Angel's account, the show aired on June 5th, 1989 on Nickelodeon. I can't find any source that says that the show aired anywhere besides syndication. Part of me wants to chalk this up to a faulty memory and that maybe Rob Angel saw that the pilot was originally pitched to Nickelodeon because the bonus round could get messy if they played it with slime. Bob Pittman, however, also says that he worked on the Nickelodeon show, so it's not just Rob Angel who's remembering wrong. But then it's Universal. Why would Universal be pitching something to Viacom? Angel also says that the series ran for 8 weeks, and I refuse to believe that they let a syndicated show like that get a double run. Meanwhile, Wikipedia says that it had a 13-week run, starting a week later and then ending in September. In short, choose whatever you want to believe. It's not really that important for this story. What we can verify, however, are the 2 companies that appear at the end of the episodes, Quantum Media and Barry Enright Productions. At the time these episodes aired, Jack Barry had passed away over 5 years prior, so the company was essentially just Dan Enright. And even then, Jack Barry and Dan Enright don't necessarily have the cleanest record to begin with. They were the producers of the original 21, the main show of the 1950s quiz show Scandals. Their names were kind of tarnished because of that, and it wasn't until Jack Barry took fate into his own hands in the late 60s and early 70s. And with success after success, including the big one, The Joker's Wild, he cleared both their names. For the second time in this video, I really can't go down this rabbit hole too much without losing focus on Pictionary. Do your own research, but it's typically agreed that after Jack Barry's death, Dan Enright had a couple concepts that worked internationally, bumper stumpers and chain letters, but nothing in the US really worked. Okay, 5 minutes in, let's finally talk about the show itself. After an introduction, we're introduced to the 3 main cast members, the host, Brian Roberts, the model, Felicity, and the judge, Judgmental. Get it? He's judgmental. He's the bad guy. Laugh. At this time, Brian Roberts, whose real birth name is Ryan Levine, bounced around several shows. but the only one that he was a regular on was ABC's Head of Class. And he did host the show, but he felt more like an actor playing a game show host instead of an actual game show host. Based on the limited sample size of 1.5 episodes that are available online, he was expressive. He exaggerated his movements to get the gameplay going, but it felt a little uncanny. He did fine, I guess. It's not like this show ruined his career or anything. Heck, he's even the president of Nickelodeon, so he must be doing something right. Felicity, who goes by Julie Friedman in real life, is just there as eye candy. She presents the categories for round 1, she opens up a faucet once in a while to keep track of points, and she gestures aimlessly near a board in round 2 as someone else flips over the clues. That's it. And although I couldn't confirm this factoid with what was online, there's a circulating tidbit about how she was absent for a few weeks of shows, and that Brian and the judge just did her duties. I really hope this is true, but I can't confirm that. Judgmental, real name Rick Zumwalt, played the straight man on the show. And since the show was all over the place, ironically, he became the best part. He gets booed every time he speaks because kids are told to hate lawyers and hate authority. However, he does a great job of explaining the rules between rounds, and overall, he takes his role as the heel of the show really well. Part of me thinks the only reason he's not the host is because there's no way a person known for arm wrestling Sylvester Stallone can appear non-intimidating. But he's really good as a no-nonsense guy, and he keeps the show going. He's pretty great. The show's announced by Harry Stevens, who's the man who voiced over Finders Keepers.
One of these two teams who win great prizes for drawing words
on Finders Keepers.
He's fine, but he was definitely cast into this role just to keep that name recognition. And I get what the producers were trying to go for when they were designing this set. They wanted the ambiance to be loony, as if a kid drew everything on stage. However, since this is a cheap syndicated show, they can't afford to make the loony style not look tacky. Aside from the stations where the red and blue teams are, Judgmental's Corner, and the round 2 board, the main gameplay apparatus was a telestrator, which I just learned today was the official name of what sports broadcasters use to draw over players. But if you see the set, you can see that the background is kind of colored. The contestants were only able to draw in white. However, when the background's kind of colorful, sometimes that makes it hard to see, which is a problem I'm surprised they even had in the first place. The game itself involves 2 teams of 3 kids, who in both episodes that are online involve 3 boys against 3 girls. There are 3 rounds. In the first round, the kids... Actually, you know what? Let's have the judge explain the rules.
Would you like to tell us about... Now. Would you like to tell us the rules for the first round?
Oh, all right. Listen up, kids. In the first round, you will run to the drawing board. One at a time. Understand me? One at a time. You will each have a maximum of 20 seconds to draw a picture for your teammates to guess. Each team will have a total of only 60 seconds. And the team that guesses more pictures wins. That will get you 10 points. Got it? Oh, yeah. No cheating. Hear me?
So mean.
So round 1 was your basic draw as many things as you can round. In this round, each team was given a choice of 2 categories that the other team had to play. Whoever got more pictures right got 10 points. If there was a tie, both teams were awarded the same amount of points. For round 2...
Round 2, listen up. Each team will pick a player to sketch as many clues as he or she can in 60, I repeat, 60 seconds. All these clues lead to the identification of a person, a place, or a thing. Got it? Good. Solve the puzzle, you get 10 points.
Now, red team. Red team.
Yeah, I just love this guy. In the case that the team failed to identify the mystery word, the opposing team would designate their own drawer and have 30 more seconds to unlock more clues. Each puzzle was worth 10 points, and each team got the right of starting a puzzle once. This round works, but the game feels too simplistic. I get Pictionary is just supposed to be fun, but this round feels like it would make more sense as the first round. But they probably couldn't do that because aside from the bonus 30 seconds, at that time, that was Win, Lose, or Draw's opening round. Yeah, there's no way I was getting through this video without mentioning Win, Lose, or Draw. Although the board game for Pictionary predates Win, Lose, or Draw, Win, Lose, or Draw aired its first episode 2 years before this version of Pictionary. Win, Lose, or Draw featured 2 celebrities and 1 civilian on each team, and each team played for cash. What made Win, Lose, or Draw work is because it knew how to take itself lightly. It had the hosts know how to banter with the celebrities and have fun interactions happen. While this Pictionary tried to do that with a hodgepodge set of rules and with only the cast members. Which is to say, it didn't work. Round 3, one final time, take it away, Judgmental.
Our bonus round, but first, here's the judge to tell us how the round is played.
Want to go to jail? Don't mess around. Listen up, kids. Pay attention to me, not them. You'll take turns drawing, but anyone can jump in if you think you know the answer. And if you get it right, you get a point. And when you blow it, your opponents get a free guess. Our round will last 1.5 minutes. Do I make myself clear? Get going.
Each team chose one person to draw. The drawers alternated images until 90 seconds passed. To show that the staff didn't care about balancing the game, the team that identified the most drawings wins 30 points, which mathematically means that whoever wins this round either wins the game, or if they botched up the whole game up to that point, forces a 30-point to 30-point tiebreaker. Wikipedia says additional things that I can't verify due to a lack of proper footage. However, just a general grievance on the show, I hate how everything is called points. From the points just within each round to the points that matter towards the team's total, it gets a little odd when there's 2 sets of points to go around. And this final round was really flawed. For instance, if you're the drawer, then both teams could buzz in. If your team buzzed in and got the answer wrong, there was 0 incentive to continue drawing on the part that matters. Yet Brian still forced the contestants to keep drawing, which kind of came up in this clip, where the kid emphasizes the leaves and petals instead of the actual part that matters, the thorn. I also love how this is a really low-scoring game if your contestants just don't know anything. In this case, it was 0-1 for the final score in this round. The team that lost didn't walk away empty-handed. They received some consolation prize that was cheap because syndicated 80s show. The winners, however, won something that was less cheap, but still cheap because 80s syndicated kids show. And then the bonus round. Up to this point, the game's been focused around drawing, and yeah, you'd expect that for a game show named after Pictionary. However, an unfortunate byproduct of 80s kids game shows was the appeal of making a mess in the bonus round. I say unfortunately, but Double Dare most famously did it with its obstacle course, and it did it well. However, other shows followed suit, most notably Finders Keepers and Funhouse. But do you know what's more excited than an animated obstacle course or making a mess in a giant upscaled house?
Water.
The final game was called Waterworks. In this bonus round, the 3 kids had to work together in order to give themselves more of a help when solving the final puzzle. One person had to hold pipes containing water together. Another had to catch the water coming out of the pipe while it was dropping overhead. The third and final kid had to pour water from the pitcher into a ball pit to reveal part of the picture. But to make it harder, that kid had to wear flippers. Sure. After 90 seconds of what honestly is terrible, terrible television, all 3 kids would have 10 seconds to look at the drawing and come up with a guess. In both cases online, they were people, Madonna and Bill Cosby. If the kids were right, they won something that's better than the other 2 prizes, but it's still cheap because this is an 80s kids syndicated show. And that's Pictionary 1989. It seems that Rob Angel was really hands-off of this TV version. And yeah, he says that there was energy. I guess it's somewhere in there, but it just was bad. The game itself was
flawed at best and incoherent at times. And although they were different enough to stand off on their own, none of them were really meaty enough to be around. It's not like after I come back from a commercial break and I see the play-at-home answer solution, I'm thrilled to see the 90-second showdown. And again, the bonus round tried being a mess, but it just didn't have the budget to make it work properly. This game felt all over the place and really kind of slow. Not enough was happening. I guess Rob Angel got what he wanted though. Sales for the junior editions for Pictionary went up after this show. Okay, let's talk more about win, lose, or draw. Going back to the part where I talked about Dan Enright and his leadership changes, Richard S. Klein ended up working on many of Jack Barry's post-21 shows, including both the 1972 and 78 versions of Joker's Wild, the 1975 Break the Bank, Bullseye, and Hot Potato. After Jack Barry's death, Klein and several other members hated the way that Enright managed the Jack Enright brand, so Klein just left and made his own company. They made a couple shows. Their only hit, though, was Win, Lose, or Draw. How funny would it be if he ended up working on the next version of Pictionary? Over a decade and a half after Win, Lose, or Draw, in 1997, he ended up doing just that. However, this time, Rob Angel and his crew had some input on how the series was going to be run. Instead of the Telecaster, Rob decided that they were going with a giant piece of paper, keeping it low-tech. And I kind of have to give Rob some credit here. Last time they tried Pictionary, they tried being over-ambitious and it flopped really badly. However, since Richard Klein was working on the show, Richard kept with what worked and brought 2 celebrities on each team with 1 civilian. Due to a series of purchases, Hasbro ended up having the rights to Pictionary in the United States. So when Rob Angel told Hasbro that they were making another show, Hasbro was like, sure. We're not helping you advertise or promote the show, though. The second run of Pictionary premiered in September of 1997, and new episodes aired until May. The show remained on the air for a little bit longer in reruns, but after September 1998, it was gone. In this version, there were only 2 rounds. Round 1 changed a bit after the first few weeks of shows. In both versions of Round 1, each celebrity on each team had 45 seconds of drawing, leading to 4 45-second segments. The celebrities were given a list of things to draw, all were linked by a common word. After correctly identifying the first word, the host would say what the common word was. For instance, if the first phrase was collarbone, the host might say bone was the commonality after the team identified collarbone, and every drawing after that in that set would have that same word, like bone up, or funny bone, or bone broth, or something of the like. The contestant and the celebrity that weren't guessing were both allowed to guess. Originally, if the team could identify 2 phrases, the team earned 2 points. If the team identified none or only 1, zip. After a while, though, the rules were simplified a bit just to be draw as many phrases as you can, and the team got 1 point for each word they identified correctly. After both celebrities on both teams took 1 turn at the board, the show threw to the first commercial break. Oh, by the way, the host of the show, the late Alan Thicke. You might know him as Dr. Jason Seaver from Growing Pains. He does a great job hosting. He knows how to play off of both the civilians and the celebrities to sound sincere and funny at times. Round 2 was similar to that of Round 1. However, this time the whole team got a chance to draw on the board. Each phrase had a word from the previous term. For example, cut the cards, cards on the table, turntable, no right turn on red. However, the terms were typically longer than the previous round. Each correct answer is again worth 1 point, and whatever teammate correctly guessed the word switched places with the current drawer and kept drawing. Both teams had 3 minutes to rack up as many points as possible. After both teams go, everyone's points are converted into money, $100 a point. Both civilians got to keep the money. However, the civilian with more cash moved on to the bonus round. In the case of a tie, after the last commercial break, the civilians would play 1 final puzzle with Alan drawing. With unlimited guesses, once the contestant identified the phrase perfectly, they moved on to the bonus round. So, did this version ultimately become a high-score chase with practically the same game throughout the entire series? Yeah, that's not bad at all. Including the bonus round, that guaranteed 10 minutes and 30 seconds of just drawing. Over half the length of the show is dedicated to the actual reason why it's called Pictionary. The pictures. Compare that to the previous iteration of the show, where only 6.5 to 7.5 minutes were dedicated to drawing. Then a bonus round that didn't really translate well to television. Speaking of a score chase, the bonus round. The team chooses a drawer, and that drawer has 90 seconds to draw while their team guesses as many words as possible. The first word is actually a one-word phrase, and then every subsequent phrase is 2 words, with the first word being the previous answer. So for instance, bird, birdhouse, houseboat. The first 3 phrases were worth $100. The next 3 were worth $300, and every word after that was $1,000. Later in the run, they added a fourth $100 word, because budget. Overall, this was just Pictionary. No frills, just draw as many words as possible. And that really translated better to the small screen than the past iteration. It wasn't the prettiest show at all, but I could see myself tuning in again and again. They did have some form of returning champions for the first couple of months, but it was removed afterwards. The show filmed on weekends at Studio 33. You know, where this dude hosted some game show. I forget what it is. I think it involves like grocery products or something. But besides that, I've got 3 stories I kind of want to share from Robert Angel's book. One happened in the 10th episode that ever aired. The person drawing at the time was a civilian, Mark Pelikakas, but his peanut gallery was Eric Estrada of Chip's Paunch fame, and Bill Maher, the politically incorrect real-time comedian that also films at Studio 33 right now. And I understand that this isn't really going to fall into fair use, but let's just let this video play out in full.
Tree, yellow, tie a yellow ribbon around the apple
You won't believe what just happened here. Full contact Pictionary. Bill Maher minding his own business. Eric, in his boundless enthusiasm and excitement, went like this, cold-cocked the host of Politically Incorrect, laid him out on the floor here, and with an actual injury that you will see possibly swollen and throbbing tomorrow night on Politically Incorrect. The only person who could feel worse than you, Bill, is Eric. I'm so sorry for the both of you. You got cranked. We went backstage. He saw the paramedic. He's got some ice on it. He bit Eric's ear off, just incidentally. So, in that sense, it's kind of even. We are so sorry.
That's okay.
And we have to bring the women back on now so we can continue. It is safe to come back now. It is.
We are ready to compete against you.
Oh, so sorry. Okay. And be sure to tune in next week, by the way, when Geraldo Rivera will take on Reverend Schuler right here on this stage. Oh, Bill, I'm so sorry. You can continue guessing, but we won't ask you to do any more drawing while you're throbbing. Okay? We will start with Mark, and we'll bring him up with 46 seconds left in his round.
If this ever gets copyright claimed, Bill Maher gets clocked in the face and actually gets knocked out cold. Bill took it well, even joking as he was taken backstage to recover. Story 2 happened in the middle of production. Remember how Richard Klein previously worked on Win, Lose, or Draw? Win, Lose, or Draw was a production made for Buena Vista Television. Read that as Disney. So, guess who got a lovely cease and desist in the mail when the mouse caught wind of the series being produced? Again, I'm just going to remind you that the Pictionary board game predated Win, Lose, or Draw. Rob Angel went ahead and sent a letter back saying that they were willing to fight it in court, and for the heck of it, why not just get an autograph from Mickey himself? Disney then dropped its case. Finally, to close the segment out, let's talk about the final taped episode. Rob Angel thought it would be fun for himself and his close friend and Pictionary partner in crime, Terry Langston, to be two of the celebrities that day. And Richard Klein agreed. The all-important bragging rights were on the line. In round 1, Rob started, and he got stuck on the word collar. After failing at drawing for a long time, because Rob Angel has admitted that he's not a good drawer at all, Rob decided to go ahead and give some extra help with a tap of his collar and a sly wink towards his team. Terry yelled at Rob, saying that he was cheating, while Alan Thicke just let it play out, knowing it'd make good TV. In the end, Rob's team ended up winning. His contestant walked away with $6,200. The 1997 version of Pictionary shot 192 maybe episodes of Pictionary. It's Rob Angel's hearsay against Richard Gills, I think. I haven't told you who Richard Gill is. I didn't want to confuse you with two Richards at the same time, but Rich Gill is important to the story of how Pictionary expanded from just Seattle to the entire world. Again, please do your own research because the story of Pictionary is really intriguing. Oh, and the show also got nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Game Show. Sure, the Emmy was either going to go to Jeopardy or The Price is Right, or maybe Wheel of Fortune if the Academy was really somewhere. But hey, they could nominate 5 shows. Why not give some love to Pictionary and this one obscure Comedy Central game show that aired for like 6 seasons? You may have heard of it. It's called Win Ben Stein's Money. If you haven't, that's technically the reason why Jimmy Kimmel can call himself an Emmy award-winning host. But I digress. Jeopardy won. But hey, that still means that Rob Angel and company worked on an Emmy-nominated production, and that's one more production than you ever will. After Pictionary left the airwaves a second time, there were talks of maybe having a Pictionary for GSN. A pilot was filmed, but it didn't get further than that. In 2001, Rob decided that he was done with Pictionary, and he sold everything to Mattel. Again, I'm oversimplifying on how it was transferred from essentially Hasbro to Mattel, but after all was said and done, Rob was not involved with any of the decisions anymore. Rob built a legacy with over 32 million copies of Pictionary sold. However, it's 2021, we're out of original ideas. We've already got Uno set for a game show and a heist film starring Lil Yachty, and we're going to have a slip and slide themed game show until NBC pulled the plug because of cholera. So why not reboot Pictionary again? We first heard news of the 2021 version through a casting call near the end of May. The show was shot over the course of 4 days, from June 21st to June 24th. On June 21st, Deadline released an article with more information, including the fact that this was going to be a 4-week trial run for select Fox stations, and the host was Jerry O'Connell. You know, this might be me just being socially inept, but I've never heard of him before. Looking through his Wikipedia article, the only thing I recognize about him is that he voiced Shazam and Superman in some of the last Detective Comics animated universe movies. But back to the 4-week trial run. A limited release in just a few of their markets is a common strategy for a Fox when they're trying to gauge the popularity of a syndicated show. Just to shout out a few shows that I know went through this process, I know that 25 Words or Less, RuPaul's Talk Show, GSN's Common Knowledge, and The Mediator with Ice-T all got their chance. Sometimes it works out. 25 Words or Less is already renewed for a 3rd season. Other times it doesn't, and you could just watch all 15 episodes of RuPaul's Talk Show on YouTube. Pictionary's 4-week trial run started on June 12th, 2021, and it aired on weekdays in the markets and showing on screen. It aired for 4 weeks, as I've said twice already, until August 6th. In my review in one sentence, if this gets greenlit, it's going to be a competent sister show to 25 Words or Less. But I don't think it's strong as either a game or a show. And it's really hard not to draw comparisons to 25 Words or Less when the first second you even hear the same announcer from 25 Words, Jamie Anderson.
Can you guess what this is? If you can, then you'll be a great contestant on Pictionary.
I'd recognize that Scottish accent anywhere. The introductions are a little different from 25 Words, however, where the team captain is one celebrity, but the 2 other civilian players are introduced, as opposed to just the 4 celebrities and the contestants getting an introduction after the first round was played. Then Jerry O'Connell. I didn't like him at first, but after watching all the episodes, he grew on me. He's definitely better than Brian Robbins. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say better than Alan Thicke, but he's still really good. Like Alan Thicke, he knows how to play off of the celebrities. However, I wouldn't go as far as to say that he reaches that level with the civilians themselves. And I've gotta say, this set is tiny. I know that to appeal to a millennial demographic, they have to model the set around a living room, which I've already talked about in my previous episode, where I tangent on Trivial Takedown. Yeah, it's a fancy living room. It does its job to be familiar enough. Jerry says that there are 3 rounds before a bonus round, but if you try counting them, you get confused easily. The first act consists of 2 games, a quick draw and a sketch or steal. In the quick draw round, all 6 contestants get their own buzzer. A video of something getting drawn is played, and once someone knows what the drawing is, they buzz in to freeze the video and guess. Each drawing takes 10 seconds to complete, and starts with a face value of 500 points. However, every 2 seconds that pass, 100 points are removed. An incorrect guess locks out the contestant's team for the rest of the sketch, and the countdown and video resume for the other team. This round is a rapid-fire warm-up. I'm a fan. After the quick draw round, Jerry gives about a minute of talk time for just the celebrities. Not the civilians, just the celebrities. And then after a minute, Jerry goes on to the second game, Sketch or Steal. Jerry gives a category for the upcoming set of clues, and then teams alternate players sketching whatever clue they're given. When one player on a team is drawing, the other 2 people on the same team are guessing. The team has 15 seconds to identify the word as written by the card. If they fail to do so, the opposing team has 1 chance to guess and steal the points. Just a little note about the editing. I appreciate that they don't show us the answer at home right away. The answer is either suddenly revealed after a team guesses correctly, or fades in as the final seconds tick by. That slight change helps me play along better, and I'm all for that. In addition, just like the 1997 version had a different array of colored markers, the contestant has a choice of using several different colors. They can use as many colors as they want. They also have the option of just erasing the entire board, but they don't have an individual eraser. And because of the way the touchscreen is set up, it's kind of funny seeing the boxes for Windows 10 whenever there's too much tapping. Joking aside, because the show's based on categories, this might make the game a little too easy, especially since a team was literally able to identify an application from just a yellow box.
Me the money!
Oh, yes!
Things you find in the bank. Okay, here we go. 15 seconds. Melissa, sketch.
ATM. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, let me do another one. You got it.
We're here. We're here.
That's right.
Send it to me. Is there like a things you find at a bank? 15 seconds. Sketch.
Money.
No.
Yeah, I said vault.
You sure did. That's exactly.
Oh my God!
You sure did.
Are you joking?
I can't. We won already. This is
Oh my God! We need to go to Vegas right now. All of us.
I'll bet my whole life Vegas. You guys, $3. This is incredible. Kristen, get up here.
However, that's pretty much category dependent. It's not like a team's just going to start guessing every word off the bat with nothing drawn on the paper from here on out. In Act 1, each correctly guessed sketch is worth 100 points, which makes the game seem a little more unbalanced. For instance, if you look at the point differential caused by the quick draw against the point differential caused by the sketch or steal, only 20% of the time does the sketch or steal actually make a bigger difference than just the quick draw round. I'll address how I think I can fix that later, but after the 100-point sketch or steal, Jerry throws to a commercial break, where we get introduced to one of the teams through a pre-recorded segment.
Then after coming back from the commercial break, we get another pre-recorded segment for the other team. I know this has been a trend of game shows as of late. Wipeout and The Cube both come to mind with the pre-recorded segments, but I just feel that you really can't properly introduce the contestants without going through the actual gameplay and banter. To me, this just seems to eat up more time with minimal payoff in the game. In the second act, Jerry leads another round of Sketch or Steal, but 200 points a sketch instead of 100. That feels kind of awkward that they reused the game twice, but it works. The third and final main game round is Choose Your Words. Beforehand, everyone was given a category, and each team was given 5 words that fit the category. Each team would choose 3 of the 5 hardest words, and the opposing team would have to identify them. Each player is given one of the 3 terms that the other team chose. A team has 60 seconds to identify as many of the 3 words as possible. The time stops when the team guesses the right phrase, or they pass. A team is allowed to pass and move on to the next word of another player as many times as they want, but the team only gets 1,000 points for every time they get a word right. And I'm personally not a fan of the 1,000 points. I understand why it's so many, because you don't want a team to run away from the start and leave the other team no chance to catch up. But if you're going to make the final round matter so much more than the other few rounds, there's better ways to balance it. I cannot think of another game show that went 1-10 in their point structure. I can think of several 1-5s. For instance, Lingo with Bill Evangal went $100 round 1, $200 round 2, $500 round 3. And the current iteration of People Puzzler has 10 points a letter, 20 points a letter, and then 50 points a letter, but you get a full board instead of being constrained to 3 words at a time. Even 25 words or less is more discreet on how they deal with the points. Only 750 points are up front. While in the last main game round, you can literally choose 1 word to be worth 1,000 points if the celebrities identify it. After this round, the loser goes home with a cheap consolation prize, which include Lobstergram and OXO kitchen accessories, both staples of 25 words or less consolation prizes. It's better than nothing. It still feels cheap nowadays, but it's better than nothing. Then right before the final commercial break, they have a play-at-home game. A drawing is shown on screen with a category. You then enter your info into the form on that website. Everyone who entered the correct response would be entered into a raffle for $1,000. In the bonus round, the final draw, one of the civilians on the winning team draws, while the other 2 members of their team and the losing celebrity help for the chance to win $2,000 and a trip to somewhere exotic, like the Caribbean or Lake Placid. The contestant is shown 5 cards face down. They must flip over a card and choose whether to pass or play that card. They can come back to any card they want after they pass, so they could go for a new card or go back to a card that they already seen. The contestant has 45 seconds to identify 3 words. The first word is worth $1,000, the second word is another $1,000, and the third word is worth the trip. Although this works as a bonus round, this really feels dependent on how easy the words are, which I guess is no duh, but on top of that, if they have a hard word and you dig it up, if you don't pass right away, you're typically doomed. Out of the 20 episodes in the trial run, the bonus round was won 7 times. Also notice that 2 times, not a single word was guessed correctly. If that happens, the team receives another consolation prize, which is typically another set of OXO kitchen appliances if they didn't give that out to the first team. But besides that, the trip kind of feels like somewhere you go to if you lose on 25 words or less. I know it's practically going to be more expensive, but these are planning to be sister shows. And the trip seems less impressive than it already is, and when you already win $2,000 in cash, is missing out on the trip really that bad? I don't think so, but I can't put myself in everyone's shoes in this case. Oh, and as a gesture of goodwill and self-promotion, if a team doesn't get all 3 words, they also get a Pictionary board game. And that was the current iteration of Pictionary. It's fine. I'm going to suggest how I would run a Pictionary-like game, but if the show's sent as is, I'd be a little annoyed, but it's honestly a fine format. Again, it's trying to be a sister show for 25 words or less. and I think it can work. I'm just surprised that for all the copying of 25 words or less, from the graphics to the announcer to even the same buzzer sound effect, Fox didn't even try to go for the bidding against each other mechanic that 25 words or less is built on, or the front game is. So you know what? Let's do that. We'll keep the 3-round structure. There's going to be 4 different games. Each round, quote unquote, will start off with a quick draw that will be used to introduce the category for that round. Keep the 500 points with 100 lost every 2 seconds for the quick draw. I'm also going to keep the 200 point Sketcher steal. I feel that works, but I don't need to see it twice an episode. Instead, round 1 will be replaced with something I'll call player pass to keep with the alliteration. Just think of it like a 25 words or less showdown. A pair of contestants are shown a phrase in the category and will wager how much time they need to get their party to guess the word. If they succeed, they get 100 points. If not, their opponent automatically gets 100 points. Will this leave less room for racking up points? Yes. However, the average differential after round 1 was 130 points, meaning it changed the difference between the players' scores by only 130 points on average. This format forces the 100-point difference due to this round, and maybe a 300-point difference if a team is really dominant. That will just allow for more time to banter, because I know that this is what Fox really wants. Heck, even Pictionary has done this before, or at least in that GSN pilot. Going back to that, in the final main game round, the contestants wagered time from 60 seconds down with 5-second increments. The contestants were also given an additional clue to help out with that word specifically. That clue's not needed, but I just feel like the fact that it already works shows that it can work here. As I said before, round 2 is going to be 1 quick draw puzzle, and then the 200-point Sketcher steal. Round 3, if you want to keep the choose your words round, then I'd prefer you decrease it to 500 points instead of 1,000 points. That would have changed the outcome of 2 matches out of 20, and a third would have changed from a tie to the team that ended up winning outright, already winning without going with a tiebreaker. However, part of me just really likes the 1997 version of Pictionary, so if I had to change it, call it the Final Frenzy. Keep it the same way as the 3-minute rounds, but only 60 seconds, and make it 200 or 300 points a word, depending on how you want to scale it. The only downside is that you really don't get higher scores like 3,000 points, but on the plus side, I feel this balances the game and makes it so that you can actually be more competitive. You can have closer games. Because the show is in a weird predicament when it gives away $2,000 in a trip, I really can't think of another bonus round that really fits that 3-tiered system besides just getting 3 words right. Although I feel that the cards make the game harder, it's actually a little more true to Pictionary that actually has cards on the board. So the bonus round can stay. Presentation-wise, I'd prefer to have some sort of graphics package that doesn't look like it was 25 words or less. You can keep the announcer, but have something that actually looks artsy, kind of like the sketching style that 1989 Pictionary tried to do with its set. The living room can stay, I guess. It's fine. I just prefer that maybe it gets a little larger. But besides that, that's pretty much my review of the trial run. The game is okay. I feel like it's a little on the weaker side, but it's not unwatchable at all. Instead of giving a certain amount of time just to drawing, this show opts to have a certain amount of words, period. So there's always going to be 30 words. There might be less if teams don't play optimally, but there's going to be around 30 drawings in 30 minutes. One drawing a minute's a little slower than from what I've seen for the 1997 version, but it's close. I also like how each Pictionary feels like it's part of its era, from the mess in the late 80s to the tackiness and optimism of the 90s to the flat design of today. I'll close this review with one last concept from Game Changers: finding one's aardvark. Why an aardvark? Because when Rob Angel was opening up his pocket dictionary, trying to find the perfect word to draw, aardvark just came first alphabetically. That aardvark was the first step into ultimately selling 38 million copies of a board game. As just a relative unknown, that aardvark sprung him into action, despite all the challenges along the way.
that Aardvark drove him to control his own destiny instead of waiting for things to go his way. So remember to find your Aardvark. Take the first step towards that project or idea that you wanted. And hey, even if your Aardvark falls down deep into a rabbit hole, know that you're still better off than the 1989 Pictionary. But until then, I'm just a man of the hours and it's certainly been fun, but I'm afraid my time has dwindled down to none. I'll see you next time, which is probably going to be the season finale. Take care.